A prime Brock Lesnar versus the current top 15 ranked UFC heavyweights. Thank you very much, TJ Gosner, for the video suggestion. Prime Jose Aldo will be dropping. It will be dropping, but that actually is not an easy video to make. I tried to make it today because it was a more popular request than this one was, but I need a bit more time to come up with some takes on that one because I actually don't think it's easy. There's a lot of matchups I think are hard for Jose Aldo, even in his prime, in today's current featherweight landscape. But the categories for this video are beats Brock, meaning I think they beat Brock Lesnar. I would wager their chances of beating Brock higher than Brock's chances of beating them. High chance means it's nearing 50-50, but I might slightly edge Brock Lesnar. Can compete means Brock would win, but ultimately his opponent might give him some trouble. They can stay in there with him. And then pray for that man means they have no chance, dear God. Pray for that man. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alexander Volkov. Right, first of all, what I want to say is, no, Brock Lesnar would not get past testing in today's current world. So he wouldn't even make it into the octagon in reality. But let's say he does get past testing and he does get in there with Alexander Volkov. He would still lose to Volkov. I'm pretty 100% certain of that. Now, I actually think Brock Lesnar could compete in today's MMA scene. I don't think he would be champion, and we'll get to... I wonder who I'm going to mention later on that might absolutely destroy him. But Brock Lesnar was an athletic and physical force. The fact that he was able to achieve the success he did in such a short career against the guys he did it with, whether or not it was against, you know, a finished Randy Couture or maybe a completely out of his prime Couture or not, beating Randy Couture with that little of experience, it was amazing. Frank Mir as well. Some of the wins Brock had were amazing, but he did get exposed a lot of the time. His striking was very simplistic and arm punchy for someone like Volkov to not easily be able to deal with. Now, on the feet, in the first round, what will happen is Brock will come forward like he does to everyone. It either works or it doesn't work. He'll charge at Volkov, crowd Volkov against the fence. He might take him down, might land some decent ground and pound, but Volkov's a very composed fighter. He's filled out much more than he had at the start of his career. He's also very long. His teeps to the body would be a nightmare for Volk. His knees to the body in the clinch would be a nightmare for Brock. I don't know why I said Volk. I'm thinking of Volkanovski. The Aldo video's playing on my mind. It will be coming soon. But I think, ultimately, everything Brock has for Volkov on the feet, Volkov would see coming pretty quickly. So as much as Brock might give Volkov trouble in the first minute or so, Volkov's way too sophisticated for someone like Brock to deal with on the feet. Very light on his feet, if he wants to be. Can check leg kicks. Brock never really threw them. Much better with his form and his punches than someone like Brock. His straight right hand down the pipe would just be a nightmare for Brock to deal with. And Volkov would ultimately, I think, after a tricky start, destroy Brock Lesnar and TKO him. I think he's way too evolved for someone like Brock Lesnar to deal with. On the other hand, Marcin Buday. The quality drop-off from the top 10 or top 5 to the rest of the top 15 is insane. Marcin Buday goes in pray for that man. He gets destroyed by Brock Lesnar, and he gets destroyed badly. I hate to be this guy, right, but look at the difference between Brock and Marcin Buday, right? Look at the difference. Look at the difference. Look at them two. And it doesn't always matter. Body types don't always matter, but in the heavyweight division they do. If you put a prime Brock Lesnar in front of Marcin Buday would know. I feel like Marcin Buday would know in his head that he's going to get dumped straight on his back from the get-go in this fight. Marcin Buday, for a blob, is pretty well-rounded, but he gets absolutely destroyed by Brock Lesnar in the first round. Taken down, ground and pounded, that's the end of the fight. 110%, no doubt about it. Brock's way too fast twitch for him because he's juiced to the gills. But again, in this video, he got past testing. So that's not an issue here. He destroys Marcin Buday and he destroys him badly. Rizvan Kuniev. I'm going to put Rizvan Kuniev in high chance. Could be too early to say because Rizvan Kuniev did give Curtis Blaydes a really hard fight and arguably, in my opinion, should have got the win. But like I mentioned in my last video, I don't know if Rizvan Kuniev is as good as maybe Blaydes made him look because Kuniev had a lot of time to prepare for Blaydes, a lot of time. But he showed good takedown defence. He showed an ability to make Curtis Blaydes pay for his fundamental mistakes in the exchanges. So he seems like he has, it's not absolutely outstanding, but he's decent counter-punching. He's very well-rounded, but also he has that ability to push the pace on guys. Now, I think it's a bit too early to say. He might get better as his UFC career goes on, because to have such a close fight with Curtis Blaydes on your UFC debut is a good thing, either way. But I think Blaydes maybe made Kuniev look better than he is. So he's still a bit of an unknown quantity for me. So I'm going to put him in high chance just because of how he looked against Blaydes. Maybe he probably will sneak up into Blaydes Brock if he keeps winning. But high chance for now, I think, is fair. But I think Kuniev would still have a high chance of beating Brock. He looks pretty decent. Shamil Gaziev. I forgot to include the Shamil Gaziev category today. Shamil Gaziev, the category, named after Shamil Gaziev, because Shamil Gaziev is Shamil Gaziev. But if I'm being realistic, Gaziev's pretty well-rounded. He's also pretty athletic, Gaziev. If Gaziev got in real good shape, like he got if Gaziev was able to do the stuff Brock Lesnar was doing in his spare time, imagine Shamil Gaziev on TRT. He'd be a completely different fighter, obviously, because he's on PEDs. But still, obviously because he's on TRT. But still, Gaziev's somebody that I think could do with a little bit of some of that funky stuff, if you know what I'm trying to say, to really elevate his career and become the GOAT we all know he can be. But he's going to go, he can compete. I think Brock would overwhelm Gaziev, but Gaziev would give it a good go. He's not just going to get absolutely dog-walked like Martin Buday. He's going to go in there, he's going to meet Brock Lesnar in the centre of the octagon, try and exchange with him. He is pretty powerful. Does Shamil Gaziev go in high chance? I don't think so. And also, Gaziev, he tries to push the pace on guys, if I can get rid of that email. But he does also fade pretty easily in his fights too. Not as easily as Brock Lesnar, but I don't know. No, I think Brock Lesnar could get it done against Gaziev. I don't know, actually. No, I'm going to put Gaziev in can compete. I definitely wouldn't put him in prayer for that man. I'm going to put can compete borderlining on high chance. But let's see what Shamil Gaziev can do with his career, you know what I mean? He is the GOAT, he is the greatest of all time. But I'm just struggling to pick him over Brock Lesnar here. Sergei Pavlovich. Pavlovich is going to go into beats Brock. Now, Sergei Pavlovich is actually pretty strong. He has I've mentioned this before. He was a former Sambo world champion, a former combat Sambo world champion. He did get ragdolled by Alistair Overeem earlier in his MMA career. And I do think, like Volkov, he could have a very, very tricky first few minutes. But he is a lot better on the feet than Brock, with his jabs, with his 1-2s, with his right uppercut, which I think would be the thing that sleeps Brock. He also hits very hard. And while Sergei Pavlovich has lost a lot of momentum in his career, and while he isn't that fearful, dominant force he used to be earlier on in his career, when he was riding that momentum of knocking out Curtis Blaydes and stuff like that, I still think he beat Brock Lesnar. I'm pretty confident in that. I almost put it in high chance, but Brock could, again, he could give Pavlovich a tough first few minutes. But Pavlovich is ultimately too evolved for Brock on the feet. Brock, again, throws a lot of arm punches. And while he might try and smother Pavlovich with his dirty boxing, and he was a lot more fast switch than Pavlovich was, he leaves himself way too open and he fades too quickly to not eventually get knocked out by Pavlovich, in my opinion. So I'm pretty confident in that pick. I think Pavlovich would beat him. Waldo Cortes-Acosta can compete. Waldo Cortes-Acosta, I think, would massively struggle with Brock Lesnar. His takedown defense is decent. I think he'd really struggle to deal with it in the first round with Brock. A lot of these guys, you're going to hear me reiterate the same points. Can they deal with that early onslaught of Brock Lesnar? The ground and pound of Brock Lesnar. The athleticism of Brock Lesnar. Acosta is very powerful on the feet. Not as powerful as he gets made out to be, but he's powerful. He can for sure finish Brock. It once Brock fades. But he keeps very flat-footed on his lead leg. He comes in with much more of a boxing base, but he also just isn't the best on the ground, I don't think. And I think Brock Lesnar would take him down pretty quickly and control him to maybe like a third. Do I put Acosta in prayer for that man, actually? So now I'm going on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm going to keep Acosta and can compete because he's powerful and he's fast on the feet. And he's decently physical. But I think Brock would beat him, for sure. I'm pretty confident of that. I don't think I'd bump him up. I'm going to keep him slightly below Gaziev too. Marcin Tybura. he is the king of the blobs. That's what we like to call him. The king of the blobs, Marcin Tybura. Sergey Spivak is the prince of the blobs. He's very well-rounded for a blob, so we can maybe put him in can compete. But again, look at the two of them. It's like, look at them both. And it doesn't always matter. It's not the only thing that matters, but look at them both. There's just a massive difference in physique, a massive difference in athleticism, a massive difference in fast twitch, muscle fibres. Like, Brock's so much faster when he's fresh than someone like Tybura, that I could absolutely see him overwhelming Tybura quickly and finishing him. I just could. But Tybura is pretty well-rounded and he can dog it out on the feet a little bit. So I'm going to put him in can compete because he's not as just done for as Martin Buday. But I'm going to put him in can compete. But I think Brock would pretty comfortably beat him, if that kind of makes sense. Jailton Almeida, he's going to go into beats Brock. Now, Jailton Almeida is a lot smaller than Brock Lesnar from a physical standpoint. So again, it's the similar sort of reasoning to Pavlovich and to Volkov. Brock would charge at Almeida. Almeida isn't the most composed guy on the feet. He does mix it up with his weapons, like his front kicks to the body, his round kicks to the body, and he tries to stay fundamental. But I think he'd struggle with the early onslaught of Brock in the sense that Brock's going to come forward on him, and ultimately Almeida's going to have to scramble with Brock. He's going to have to deal with the early onslaught, but I think Almeida would be fine in this fight. He's very good off his back, but I think Almeida would get it done against Brock. He might get flustered on the feet early, so I'm going to keep him slightly below Pavlovich and Volkov, but I'm pretty confident, A, he's elite enough as an all-around grappler to deal with the physicality of Brock and the wrestling of Brock, and B, I just see Brock fading, and I actually could see Almeida submitting Brock eventually, maybe in the second round or midway through the second round. Maybe with like a rear naked choke. Deals with the early onslaught of Brock. We see some scrambles, we see some work up against the fence. Almeida stays busy in the clinch. Brock gives him trouble. Oh, does Brock knock Almeida out though on the feet? Brock was pretty powerful. What I've not mentioned yet is Brock Lesnar could hit guys with an arm punch and still rock them because he was so physical. His hands were so big. He was such a physical presence. But Almeida, I think, despite being smaller than Brock, is athletic enough, decent enough on the feet with his weapons, and elite enough on the ground to get past Brock early and then submit him a bit later on. So I'm pretty confident Almeida. I wouldn't put Almeida in the same category as Rizvan Kuniev. So I would put Almeida and beats Brock. I think his modern way, he's well-rounded enough on the feet and on the ground, and elite enough on the ground to deal with Brock, in my opinion. Derrick Lewis. Derrick Lewis is pretty athletic, but he's going to get overwhelmed by Brock. Derrick Lewis can also be very inactive on the feet, but he hits so hard and Brock's so bad defensively that, like, for example, Brock Lesnar comes forward on guys, dipping down. Like, you'll see it. Comes forward, squared up, dipping down with his head to go immediately for the takedown or shoot a right overhand. I actually 110% could see Derrick Lewis absolutely knocking Brock Lesnar out in the first few seconds of that fight with just a right uppercut followed by a left hook, then ground and pound, and Derrick Lewis beats him. Honest to God, Derrick Lewis, you look at it and you think, well, but Brock could easily take down Derrick Lewis and beat him. But Brock's so bad and poor, he's so poorly irresponsible on the feet, that's just tailor-made for Derrick Lewis to knock him out. Derrick Lewis is more athletic than these guys below him, but he's a lot less well-rounded. He's not as skilled off his back. So, yes, I think Brock Lesnar could absolutely control him. But honestly, when I look at that fight and I visualise Brock Lesnar charging at Derrick Lewis, squared up, not moving his head, kind of dipping down for the takedown, looking smother Derrick Lewis, I either see Brock absolutely taking Lewis down quickly and mopping him, or I see Derrick Lewis landing a right uppercut, catching Brock Lesnar's attention, or just knocking him out cold. Derrick Lewis hits so hard. He's not as good as he used to be, though. A prime Derrick Lewis I might edge more against Brock Lesnar. But it is just one of those things where I could 100% see Derrick Lewis sleeping Brock Lesnar. And I'm leaning 50-50. Not because Derrick Lewis is more skilled than, or more well-rounded than Tybura or Gaziev or somebody like that. But I just think that it's such a high chance Derrick Lewis sleeps Brock Lesnar quickly that I'm going to bump Derrick Lewis up to high chance. That might be a hot take. I don't know if that reasoning even makes sense to any of you guys. But I just think he's so powerful and so much more superior with his counter-punching. And Brock Lesnar's so reckless with his offense. But then again, would Brock... Against Shane Carwin, Brock Lesnar did know to just relax a little bit. Right, wait a little bit. Try set it up a little bit more. Although Shane Carwin destroyed him, actually, in the first round, and Brock Lesnar ended up coming back. I don't know, man. I just see Brock... honestly, I could see Derrick Lewis sleeping Brock, but I also could absolutely see Brock mopping Derrick Lewis. So I'm going to put Lewis in high chance. Tai Tuivasa, pray for that man. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, but Ben, Tai Tuivasa is the same as Derrick Lewis, surely. No, he's not. He's not as athletic as someone like Derrick Lewis, like standing up off his back or defending off his back. He's also, I think... Tai Tuivasa's in a stage in his career where I don't think he's trying to put it all together. I think he just turns up to have a fun fight. And we like Tai Tuivasa. I like Tai Tuivasa. But I think he'd turn up and try and make it a scrap with Brock. He wouldn't be training to stop Brock Lesnar's wrestling. He wouldn't be trying to scramble with him. I think he'd accept a lot of the positions. If Brock Lesnar took Tai Tuivasa down quickly, I think Tai Tuivasa would accept Brock Lesnar's sort of wrestling and kind of just sit there and wait and kind of like go to the crowd like, you know what I mean? Like, he'll turn up for a fun fight, he'll get taken down, he'll get frustrated, and Brock Lesnar will kind of just tee off on him on the ground and TKO him. Especially now Tai Tuivasa can be finished. Maybe earlier in Tuivasa's career when he was a bit more durable and tougher, I would have maybe bumped him up. But I think Brock Lesnar would get him, and get him pretty quickly. I just think he'd overwhelm Tai Tuivasa. Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes is going to go into beats Brock too. And this might be controversial. I don't know if anyone in the comments is going to disagree with this. Yes, Brock Lesnar was a specimen. Yes, Brock Lesnar was juiced. But he is from the older generation, and as unevolved as heavyweight is, realistically, for someone who's fought as long ago as Brock Lesnar did, you know, and as unevolved as he was, you want to put these guys in... You want to realistically be putting a lot of these guys in high chance beats Brock, and not really any of them in prey for that man. But it speaks to the lack of quality in the heavyweight division and the inconsistency in the talent across the division as a whole as to how these fights go. So I don't think Curtis Blaydes would lose to Brock. He's a very good wrestler, probably not as good as Brock, and he isn't as athletic as Brock. So again, like I mentioned with all of them, I sound like a broken record. Yes, Brock could 100% give Blaydes problems early, but Blaydes would come in with a low stance, stick to his jab, stick to his straight right hand. He is powerful on the feet, and I think that's enough to beat Brock Lesnar. I think he would have enough to beat Brock Lesnar. He's very well-rounded, but unlike someone like Tybura, he is athletic, he is long, he's fast twitch, Curtis Blaydes, and he can trade and exchange. But 100% in this fight, I could actually see Brock Lesnar knocking out Curtis Blaydes with something. Curtis Blaydes is a big dum-dum, so there's every chance Brock Lesnar charges at Curtis Blaydes, and Curtis Blaydes charges at Brock Lesnar too. For some reason. Just for the fun of the game. Just for the love of the game. There's every chance Curtis Blaydes copies off Brock Lesnar's game plan and gets stopped, right? But I think Curtis Blaydes would beat Brock. Stick to staying defensive up against the fence, work off your back, get up to your feet, win the exchanges. When Brock Lesnar disengages and looks to reset, punish him. And I think Blaydes would win this fight. It'd be a pretty tough fight, but 100% I'd fancy Blaydes. If you want to put Blaydes, by the way, guys, in high chance, I don't mind. But I would put Blaydes in beats Brock because I'm more confident Blaydes gets it done there. I really, really am. I don't know if that's a hot take. I don't know. But I think Blaydes does beat Brock Lesnar. Sergey Spivak, for the exact same reasons as Marcin Tybura, can compete. Now, again, the Prince of the Blobs is going slightly below the King. He is well-rounded. You know something? No. I'm bumping Spivak and Tybura down. I don't care. They get destroyed by Brock. I don't care. I do not care. They get destroyed. They're too unathletic. They're not fast enough. They're not composed enough on the feet. They're well-rounded for blobs, but Brock Lesnar was such a freak. Freak of all freaks, as Joe Rogan would like to say. People forget. Tybura and Spivak get destroyed by Brock. 110%, no doubt about it, any day of the week. Mick Parkin. I would put him in prayer for that man, but I'm actually going to put him in can compete. He has a good team around him. He'd be training with Tom Aspinall in the build-up to this fight. Mick Parkin is pretty well-rounded. Like, he is. He has decent boxing. But again, it's like, he's a lot less athletic than Brock. So, I could see him getting mopped in the first round. I keep getting hiccups. We don't want to be doing that on video. I sound like an idiot when I do them. But I think Mick Parkin would lose to Brock Lesnar. And he would lose to Brock Lesnar comfortably. But he's pretty well-rounded and he has a good team. And I think he would come in with a good game plan to try and shut out Brock Lesnar, survive the first round, and then when Brock fades, get rid of him. But I don't think Mick Parkin beats Brock. I wouldn't give Mick Parkin a high chance of beating Brock. And I don't even think he has as much of a chance as Acosta or Gaziev. But I think Mick Parkin can compete to some extent is fair. Borderlining on prayer for that man. Borderlining on prayer for that man. Tallison Teixeira. He is going to go right up into high chance. I need to see more of Tallison Teixeira's grappling. For all I know, Tallison Teixeira could be an awful grappler. He could be at the highest level. And he's also very tall, and he's very plodding. So I could 100% see Brock Lesnar getting to his hips. But 6'7", a towering man. A towering man. Teixeira's boxing and fundamentals on the feet, and he's very powerful too, could for sure stop Brock Lesnar. So I think that fight's pretty much 50-50. I don't think that's a hot take. I just need to see more from Tallison. But eventually, I could 100% see him going right up here. But I just need to see a little bit more from Tallison Teixeira. Ciryl Gane. Does Ciryl Gane go in high chance or does he go in beats? Now, I know what you're all thinking. I know what you're all going to comment. No, Gane would destroy Brock Lesnar. But would he? Would he? Gane for sure can compete or pray for that man. He has a very high chance, borderlining on beats Brock. He's going to go at the top, a very high chance. He would fight absolutely terrified of Brock Lesnar from minute one, right? He's going to go on the back foot straight away, which would benefit Brock. But he's so much better than Brock on the feet. He's so much better than Brock. His feints and his setup, side kicks to the body, teeps to the body. It's just so sophisticated for someone like Brock to deal with. And Gane's going and beats Brock above Curtis Blaydes. Yes, Brock is a much better wrestler than Gane. And yes, I feel like Gane would shit himself pretty early, to put it bluntly. Gane would move on the back foot. He'd pick his moments. He'd probably focus on just trying to defend against Brock early, work off the cage and reset. And hopefully Brock will have slowed his momentum down by then, if that kind of makes sense. But he's so much lighter on his feet than Brock. He's so much better defensively with his movement, working off on angles, counter-punching. Brock Lesnar, in his career, never faced anyone with the footwork of Ciryl Gane. Do you know what I mean? But Gane, he can get cracked. He can get lazy with his defence. And against John Jones, who is a better wrestler than Brock Lesnar in MMA and much more of an effective mixed martial artist all around. I'm not trying to compare Brock Lesnar to John Jones as a fighter. But against John Jones, Gane looked terrified of that takedown threat. And I do think Gane would be very hesitant to start off with in this fight. But his jabs, his angles, it's too much for Brock. It's way too much for Brock. Tom Aspinall. He would absolutely destroy Brock Lesnar and destroy him in 2 minutes. All of the guys in this tier list, and I know my reasoning, I feel like my reasoning in this video could have been a lot better, but all the guys in this tier list are struggling with Brock Lesnar maybe early. Tom is scrambling with Brock. He wouldn't fear Brock Lesnar's takedown. He's also not afraid to exchange with Brock, I feel like. And his form and his 1-2 And it's so fast, I think Brock would just get caught with it pretty quickly and knocked out. Tom's fast as Brock Lesnar. Probably not as athletic, because Brock, again, juiced up, freak of all freaks. People forget, man. But Brock Lesnar would 100% get stopped by Tom. No doubt about it. Tom's too well-rounded. The best heavyweight in the world currently. And also, Tom's a bit of an unknown quantity still. So I think Brock would struggle to prepare at all for someone like Tom. But the Brock makes too many mistakes coming forward. Doesn't set up his takedowns intelligently enough to catch someone like Tom off guard. Yes, he's athletic, but just charging at Tom and shooting a double leg isn't enough to beat Tom Aspinall. Come on. It's just not. I don't care. You can call me I don't care. Tom would destroy Brock Lesnar. I don't think that's a hot take at all. And if it is, sort your head out. Tom would absolutely destroy Brock Lesnar. Look, guys, pretty well-rounded list. Some of my reasoning might be a bit all over the place. I've moved guys down later in the video than I did at the start of the video. But, yeah, I think Brock Lesnar could compete in today's MMA scene, especially against the lower blobby kind of fighters. But the top guys in the division are to evolve someone like Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean? So thank you all very much for watching. It's an interesting one, this one. The Jose Aldo video will be coming soon. Thank you for watching, guys. Take care and goodbye.